Want to say thank you for joining me today. Um, Background footage is just going to be a game that I played earlier today in my block, and well, the topic of this video is going to be League colors the way you see the world.
I don't have time for restraint.
Whether you're winning or losing, your outlook overall it changes when you're playing League. I decided to make this video uniquely because I am in a low actually. Normally, I like to think about the times I'm in a high point in like these like shifts,
And I'm its last good soldier.
and I don't try to fixate upon it. I try to do my best to temper myself against it, knowing that it's not going to be sustainable to like expect it to last. And when these lows come, I take them in stride. But even then, I feel this energy that when I'm in a low point, I look at the game and I go, is it worth it? Is it worth the annoyance, the frustration, the feeling that it's giving a negative energy that I could just discard?
In the eyes of the law, everyone's expendable.
So I ask myself why? Why? That golden question. And the thing I find is, it may take me a while, but sooner or later I always end up at the same answer.
Right.
League keeps me searching for answers I do not know. It makes me curious, rather than to think I know the world around me. There's always something I'm not aware of, something I don't yet know. Sometimes people think that to do this kind of approach, though, is to overcomplicate it. That you should keep it simple. But in reality, I'd rather live in a world that's complicated. Not because it makes it easier. Because I don't think that living in a simple world is possible. There's this idea called multifaceted things. It's when the outcome of something is dependent upon many variables at the same time. Whether or not a play works in League of Legends is not dependent upon just you. It's also dependent upon your team. It's dependent upon your enemy. It's dependent upon all kinds of factors that are beyond the obvious. Sorry, I'm just gonna turn this down. So when I say League colors the way you see the world, that in itself is multifaceted. Because it does it both in the positive light and in the negative. I believe that when we play, you get a choice. You have a choice of whether you're going to take it negatively, embrace the negative energy, or whether or not you're going to take that energy and you're going to fight against it. Whether or not you're going to choose to believe that there's more. Because oftentimes, whatever is the simplest solution, the most direct in front of your nose, it's often hollow. It fails to notice all the details. There's usually 15 layers underneath. Apologies if I'm speaking slowly. I'm trying to think through these thoughts, because I'm having them authentically. I feel like I'm trying to talk to myself rather than to a video. But I think that's better that way. Boy. Sometimes I wonder if we as players fear what it's like to be in control. Or what it's like to be out of control, actually.
Bad time to be guilty.
I really should record this with someone else. I'm pausing a bit too much, but it's because I don't have a script.
An ally has been slain. Now in effect. Violators will be executed.
This video is not for anyone but myself, anyway. I make mementos out of the times that I'm in the lows, so that when I'm out,
This planet will be
I can see them later and remind myself that it is possible to come out of this point. By remembering how low I once was, I can rise back up. You ever have those dark thoughts? I say dark, but they're more just like, it's that nagging thought when you go 0-3 where you're like, what if I walked away from it all today? But it's not like you want to. It's just you're tired of feeling like you have no control. Recently, I've been trying to deal with a tough situation of,
any infraction.
I think I need to leave my main role,
RSM.
because I think it negatively impacts my view of it, how the game itself and of how I as a person feel relating to my control of myself.
Don't.
I've been a top laner for a long time. It's my role I've favored most. I prefer the 1v1 aspect of it. I prefer the style champions that are there. Even if I'm playing champions that are more on the spacing and zoning.
Isn't a virtue a law can avoid?
I enjoy the dynamic of how punishing it is. But sometimes top lane feels like it has not enough ability to do things.
Bring peace to the galaxy.
If you and your opponent go even, and you're watching the game fall apart around you, it kind of makes you bitter. And I don't like that bitter feeling. I don't enjoy the feeling of resentment that builds up watching other people's mistakes and feeling like, again, another one of these games.
Force authorized.
And this is why League colors the way you see the world. Because it causes that resentment. Causes you to look upon others in a different way. It's a scary thing. But there's also something in it I've found that I use to my benefit. Whenever I see someone who's upset, or someone who's tilted, or someone who's even potentially griefing a game, I can understand them. I can forgive them for being human. We all are.
An ally has been slain.
There are some players I know, and I used to be one, who to be imperfect is a sin that you should not be forgiven for. These are the kind of players who, if you make one mistake, they will condemn you and want everyone to know it. I was never that bad, but I would very much be judging people silently.
Curfew is now in effect. Violators will be
I would be looking down upon them. I would know all the things I see that they're doing wrong. Because of that, I would view them as lesser. But in reality, what I was doing is I was trying to kill the part of me I saw in them. Because I knew I made these same mistakes in the moments where I slip up. And I didn't want to see the things I so much was disgusted by. I'm not a perfect player. No more than anyone else.
all civilians are under lockdown until further
I do have the disadvantage of being slightly proficient. Sometimes I think it's worse that I have that ability. If I could be just beginner or someone who's blatantly bad,
full power of the RSM.
then I would have an easier time not feeling so bad about it. Not feeling so annoyed at either the incompetencies of others, myself.
It's us versus them. Don't be
I wouldn't be so annoyed by the moments of unfairness that naturally occur on everyone. Being autistic is interesting. One of the traits of most autistic people is limited interest. And in the things that you take interest in, you take a extreme, devoted level of interest. And lo and behold, for me that was League of Legends. And that's why if I ask myself that question, what if I just walked away to now? It's a scary prospect. 12 years.
instinctive aroma of all garbage.
So much knowledge. Information I've stored. I became a member of the wiki editors. Just searching for more.
Laws are for the protection of this galaxy. Obedience.
I feel like if I walked away from League, half of the things I know would suddenly not make any relevance anymore. And as a result of this this special interest of mine,
Lawbreaking is treason. Treason demands death.
it's very hard to disconnect your self-worth or your capacity as a human being from this thing. One of the big things League of Legends has done for me is I've learned how I'm different. I don't mean that in some ways I have an advantage over other people. I mean actually,
My judgment
I'm different.
is final.
I wouldn't realize what some other people consider obvious. I see things that I believe are very clear and other people have no idea. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad. It's that complicated world again. But that's my world. And I can't change that.
Resistance to the
It's some people tell me, just don't focus on it, don't think about it. But it just doesn't work that way. I can try to tell myself, okay, I see that complicated world. I'm gonna just try and ignore it. But I never just don't see it.
All crime will be eradicated.
Can't turn the lights off. Another aspect of League of Legends that I really had to learn from this game is expectations of other people, social cues, in a way. Learning what I can expect from my ally or my enemy based on a given scenario and like vision or what people want to be buying or if people want to recall or not. Like, there was so many things I didn't understand about other people in regards to what they would do. What's funny is that part of the way I originally got around this is I just made myself adaptive to whatever someone else decided to do. I made myself self-sufficient from whether or not my teammates were wanting to help me. I made myself capable of reacting to whatever my enemy might do. And so, I became a Sivir main. To me, it was the ultimate reactive champion. Spell Shield let me deal with situations that the enemies might do that I wouldn't be aware of. And I was self-sufficient enough that it didn't matter what my allies were doing. Eventually things changed. Sivir changed, actually. First the items did, then she did. And that was a big blow to me when the items changed for the first time. See, I knew the ins and outs of that system. I knew all these things you could do. One of my favorites was Mikhail's Crucible. The original Mikhail's Blessing. It used to give you a cleanse that you could use on yourself, actually, too. And if you used it right before a stun hit, you would actually successfully still cleanse the stun. But it had another effect. It was when you got a successful cleanse, the target you cleansed became slow immune for 2 seconds. And actually, they got a speed boost, I think, too, actually. My favorite thing to do with this was to use it against Ashe. The irony of turning her auto attacks into a speed boost for an ally. And slow immunity. And if you timed it just right against her ultimate, you wouldn't even get stunned. I played a lot more than just Sivir, though. My time, I played almost everything. I had a desire to know what everything did. And I believe that 50 games on a champion could teach you more than enough to play it. 50 games on a champion would teach you everything you need to know. So at one point or another, I mained it each champion that I found interesting at the time. I learned about how they functioned, the intricacies of their kits, the similarities between them. You know, aiming Karthus Q is a lot like aiming Caitlyn traps. And that's an interesting detail. The Sandra Q is a lot like Kayle Q. RAQ, Sivir Q. It's basically in League of Legends, everything is built upon the same core foundation of principles between ways you can have abilities operate. And Mort got me there. I think Udyr to gank. Covered the tower, actually. One thing I've been feeling lately is that summer has been rough, feels like. I've not enjoyed schools being up for summer.
Suspect appears uncooperative.
It feels like game quality has gone down a lot. I made a post about that though.
I am the righteous hand of judgment. My authority has no limits. The law lives in me.
Pretty sure Yone's gonna kill me here before I can even R.
I am the world's reckoning.
Yeah, he is. No, it's Mordekaiser who Zars me. Where should I kite this actually? Ah, yeah, he kills me with R. Yeah. I actually make a decent comeback. Picking up all the shutdowns later on. Games like these are where I try and like debate, is it worth playing in champions that lead to these game states? Like, you have to think about the question, what is your champion's expected game state? Kayle, usually you're expecting to play from these kind of positions where you're not behind by a ton, you've CS'd a lot, but the map is in a really rough spot. And the question is that really what you enjoy as a player? And at this point, I don't know. I don't know if I enjoy these kind of champions, which I once very much like was drawn to. I think it's because for me, there's almost something worse about being outscaled.
A summoner has reconnected.
Now, here's where he kills me without using R. Yeah,
You have been slain.
I was surprised. Here he kills me without me using R, essentially, I should say. He's a very farmed Yone. And I know that's what he can do. Earlier I had the thought, man, I've enjoyed Yone not being in the meta for a while. Yeah, they're gonna all die, and I'm gonna kill him barely. So many mushrooms.
All crime will be Everybody move along. Let me help you here.
We hit level 16. Go for Rylai's.
Law transcends humanity.
I decide the HP is most valuable.
This sector is unclean. It must be purged. The galaxy.
Recently I've been learning jungle. And I feel like when I play jungle, I feel worse at the game noticeably, but it feels like there's more. It's like playing chess. I feel like I have more things available to me, even if I understand less of them.
Peace requires death. Court is a
Game ends pretty soon here.
There is no innocence, only I am justice.
Yeah, games like this make me feel like, is any of it good enough?
Demands judgment.
Any of the effort I put in, is it good enough? Not saying it's perfect, but I'm saying when I'm giving my all
Mercy for the unjust.
to try and do the right things, it never feels like it's enough.
Crime is a betrayal of the highest order.
Maybe I'm just waiting for the game to happen around me. Or maybe I'm already dissociated at this point and I'm just playing on autopilot waiting to lose. Maybe this is again League of Legends coloring the way I see the world. Because I am seeing a little differently here. I don't look like I'm trying to call anything. I'm not trying to find openings. I'm just focused on what do I need to do next.
This sector is unclean. It must be purged. The galaxy must be purified.
Yone players got a trigger finger. But they're gonna overrun us, and we're gonna lose. And that's how it ends. Again, I'm telling this story from the perspective of someone who is in the low point right now. But I'll make one of these when I'm not on it. When I'm out of it. Perhaps I'll do something of a series on my moods. And the point of this is less to lament and bemoan, but it's more to share this so that those out there who feel this energy inside themselves don't feel so alone. Because you're not alone. But it's important that you also take the time to process these energies. Because you can't let them win. You can't give in to that negative energy. Alright. Thank you for listening. And stay strong.